everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for tuning in for a card show recap video here on the channel. Do not adjust your speakers. You heard that correctly. Hadn't been to one in probably more than 10 years, but recently my good buddy Dom over at Staven Sports Cards here on YouTube and also the Solo Shots podcast, who many of you know, he had reached out and let me know that he was attending the Cranston, Rhode Island sports card show in the month of February. So we made a plan to meet up and attended my first show in over a decade. Now I was obviously a little bit rusty, got there before Dom kind of scanned the floor and then ended up meeting up with Dom. We spent maybe 3 hours walking the show floor together, talking with dealers, picking out cards. And today I want to share all of that in kind of a recap video. It was a smallish show. It was a new venue for this show compared to where they've done it in the past. And it was not a ton of vendors. I would guess maybe 80 tables, something like that. But I was able to find some cool stuff. So let's start with Dom. He graciously gifted me this stack of cards when we first met. And this is my first time meeting Dom in person, which was great. He gave me for my Warlords project, the 1976 war leader in Major League Baseball, Joe Morgan, and a beautiful centered copy at that. Much appreciated, Dom. This will be going into my Warlords collection in an upcoming video. And then to go along with that, some more quality vintage, which of course is Dom's wheelhouse. 1978 Topps Jim Rice and the 77 Rod Carew. Insane year that he had back in 1977, so super generous. And then lastly, Dom included this great 2018 Topps Gold parallel of Jake DeGrom. This is the All-Star card from the Topps Update release, and I think something that Dom had picked up prior and thought of me because of the incredible campaign that DeGrom had back in 2018. So Dom, that was certainly not necessary. Meeting up with you was enough fun, and you did not need to bring any cardboard gifts, but they are much appreciated. And then moving on to some pickups. So I didn't do a lot of damage at this show. All told, I spent under $100, including my entry fee, which was a few bucks. But I did manage to find a few cards that kind of fit my collection. So let's get into them. First, I found a dollar bin in the middle of the floor that had just a total random variety in it. And if you bought enough cards, they were discounted below the dollar point. So I think I bought maybe a dozen or so cards. Dealer charged me $10. So got these for under $1 a piece. And these are going to be as random as it gets. So I got these Chips stickers. There was a lot of cool non-sport stuff in here, featuring John and Ponch. Of course, the two main characters from that 80s motorcycle classic, California Highway Patrol. My brothers and I watched that when we were kids, and I just got a kick out of that Ponch sticker. I was really all over the place here. Also got a couple of Superman stickers, just because I really liked the theme of these. The Man of Steel, and then this other one here where he's flying with the flag. Just really cool stuff. Of course, a tragic story with Christopher Reeves, but thought those cards were pretty neat, and for under $1, couldn't pass those up. So these are mostly going to be destined for my little non-sports album. Here's former wrestler and politician Jesse the Body Ventura. Look at him flexing in the gym tank top there, just some wild hair. I don't know what's going on there, but this really just spoke to me. If you can't tell at this point in the show, this was probably about halfway through our time there, and I was really just focusing on having some fun. Didn't see too many major, serious pieces that I wanted to consider for my collection, but that doesn't mean it can't be a good show, as evidenced by these 3 A-Team stickers featuring B.A. Baracus. Check these out. Super cool. Couldn't leave those behind. Pity the fool that leaves those in a dollar box. And then a little bit of Marvel Comics. So I've seen these before. I don't know too much about these. I apologize. Definitely out of my wheelhouse here. The first two are dated 1975, featuring Spider-Man, You Drive Me Up a Wall. And then here's Hawkeye, also from that 75 set. Annie Oakley, I Ain't Sure. Okay. Found a lone random Beatles card that I love. There were actually a few of these in there, but this is the only one image-wise that really spoke to me. I love that you have John Lennon in the foreground, Paul in the background here. You've got some police officers, some guys in tuxedos. No idea what's going on here. Haven't even read the back yet, but just a neat card. Love music cards. And then these last 3 intrigued me. These are dated 1967 in the copyright. 3 more old school Marvel pieces. We've got Captain America, who's got a headache and needs some aspirin. We've got the Hulk, who wants to know where the cotton candy is. And then Iron Man, what if I am a high school dropout? So I'm not sure what to say about that. I am a college dropout myself, so we'll go with that. So that's the non-sport portion of the show. I did pick up a couple of baseball cards as well, including one really unique Mantle. But we'll save that Mantle for the end of the video. First, there was a table where Dom and I were actually able to team up and bundle some cards. So there was one card that I was looking at, and then a small handful that Dom had from a discount bin, and then I added another one from the discount bin, which was this card here. And let me take this out of its penny sleeve, but this is the Topps On Demand 3D of Vlad Guerrero Jr. from 2021. Great start to his career. Not someone I talk about on the channel often, but I do enjoy collecting a little bit of his cardboard anyway. And as many of you know, I'm a sucker for these 3D cards. So this was priced at $2. Dom had a little stack that was maybe $10 or $15 worth of cards. And then I was interested in this card as well. So we were able to bundle it all together. He had the Topps Black version of that Vladdy to go with the 3D. So this is the 2021 Topps Black. I feel like I talk about this parallel pretty regularly, so we'll keep it brief here. I'm glad these made a return, or will be making a return later this year in Series 2. And this is a third-year Guerrero. There's a little bit, I don't know if it'll come across, there's a touch of white on the upper left corner. You really can't be concerned with condition too much on these. Numbered to 70, and a very, very popular flagship parallel. This is my first Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Topps Black. So the sticker on this was like 25. I think I probably got it closer to 20 after Dom and I's bundle. And I'll leave a link below, but definitely if you haven't caught it, would recommend checking out Dom's video on this same show. He was much better than I was about getting it up quickly, but he scored an incredible autograph among other findings at the show. So I'll try to remember to leave a link below to his. Let's move over briefly now to what was the highlight of the show for me as far as personal experience goes. As I was walking through one of the aisles to the right of the room, I noticed somebody setting up shop that I recognized instantly. And it was this man here who's been lurking in the background, former WHA hockey player and NHL referee, Paul Stewart. Now, this is a buyback of his 1990 Pro Set card. I showed this on the channel many months ago. I was pumped to pick it up because he is one of the more notable referees of my youth. He started as like an enforcer in the World Hockey Association in the 70s. Eventually, when he realized his playing career was coming to a close, transitioned, I should say, over to being a referee, donned the pinstripes, and then stuck around in the NHL for a long, successful career as a referee. And Paul set up a booth at the show. He was selling copies of his book, and this is going to be a little tough to fit on camera. The book is You Wanna Go by Paul Stewart, forward by Terry O'Reilly. And you can see this is Paul here from his playing days with the Quebec Nordiques. Again, he was known as an enforcer early on, but did not last long as a player, and then transitioned over to a ref. But he was very into discussing his time as an enforcer. And you can tell he still has the attitude, even as somebody who's got to be well into his 70s now, or maybe even approaching 80, still had that edge to him, iron grip when I shook his hand. And I stood there talking to him for probably 10 or 15 minutes while Dom was perusing tables, just because I thought it was fascinating to meet somebody like this, closely connected to the game from my youth. He was selling this book, and for $30, I got a copy of the book as well as an autographed photograph. And he signed my book for me. Again, we had a great conversation, so he inscribed it. Shane, a veteran hockey guy from Stewie, Paul Stewart, number 22, and U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame inductee from 2018. So really looking forward to getting into this book. Was not aware that he had written a book, and love hockey literature. So this one is now on my list, my stack of sports books to get to. As I mentioned, because I paid him an extra $5 beyond the book, he had a stack of photos on the table, and he said he would autograph and inscribe any one that I wanted. And I chose this one. He is the ref here, of course, in frame for this infamous 6-5 double overtime win in the Canada Cup for Team Canada. Of course, you've got Gretzky in the foreground here. Just one of the most famous goals of the 1980s in the game. And I love this shot. Again, I love that he inscribed this with the actual statistics and details from the game. that this photograph is taken from. Of course, Canada just wrapped up the recent Four Nations hockey tournament, so I had picked this up prior to that, so I was very timely, and I love this autographed photo. Not something I get into often, but I could not pass this up, just as a way to commemorate the experience. And then the coolest part about my interaction, he had a series of game-used pucks spread out across his table, and anyone who bought a book could also pick a puck. And I found that to be very attractive. And of course, there was one that stuck out to me. He had a game-used Hartford Whalers puck from back in the day, which he then autographed for me, Paul Stewart, number 22. So 3 signed items all told, the book, the puck, and the photo. And this one I thought was cool. So I asked him where he got all the pucks, because they looked like they've got some wear on them. I mean, these are definitely used pucks. These aren't fresh from the pro shop or anything like that. And he commented that over the years, as games would wind down, he would grab the puck after the final whistle and just take it with him and collect it. So he had a whole box of these. Honestly, I thought about making him an offer for like a dozen pucks because he had so many cool ones, but I figured I would just leave well enough alone and take my Whalers puck and support him with a purchase of his book. That really brought me back, because I've told the story before, but going to card shows as a kid in the 90s, one of my experiences that I remember so fondly is getting to meet Gordie Howe at a card show and getting a Gordie Howe signed puck. Very similar experience. Although, as you would imagine, Paul Stewart, not as popular as Gordie Howe, so I was really able to spend like 20 minutes just catching up with him, talking about the game, some cool stories, and it was a very memorable experience. It was a part of the show that I did not expect and made the show a home run for me. And then we're going to close out with, this is kind of ironic. Some of you are going to think I'm crazy, but my big quote-unquote pickup of the show, I think I got this for around $40. This is a one-of-a-kind vintage Mickey Mantle card. Could almost guarantee you haven't seen one like this. First stuck out to me in a dealer showcase pretty early on when I was walking the floor with Dom. And as the day progressed, I just couldn't get this card out of my mind. It was the one card in the whole room that I just couldn't stop thinking about. So ended up going back by, and I made an offer, brought this home. This is the 1958 Topps All-Star, one of my favorite Mickey Mantle cards, but it's the hole punch variation. So some aspiring collector, probably back in the late 50s or early 60s, took their hole punch to this, and they began punching out the infamous stars that are in the background of the All-Star cards in 1958. And I just thought this was so cool, one of a kind type of thing. I've never seen anything like it before. I realize this has little to no value to 90% of collectors. And in fact, as I was sitting there, when I went back to ask about this card, there was a guy next to me at the same showcase who was stacking up like modern football cards, and he was talking into his phone to get price comps. He must have had Siri or some kind of voice recognition. So he's ringing off, get me a comp on, card X, all these modern shiny football cards. I walked up next to him, asked the dealer if he had any room on this Mantle, and the guy just looked at me like I had, 3 arms growing out of my head. But I thought it was pretty comical. Originally, he wanted $50. I countered and asked, since a good portion of the card was actually missing, maybe we could reduce that down to 40, and we struck a deal. So this is just fun. This is something that I'll always keep in my collection. I have a nicer copy of this, which I will store this alongside. But anytime I look at this copy, it'll take me back to that show, walking the floor, meeting Dom, the experience of meeting Paul Stewart, one of my childhood personalities that I remember so well from the game of hockey, and then coming home with a one-of-a-kind Mickey Mantle card. Never seen another one like it. Again, many of you probably think I'm crazy, but that was the icing on the cake that completed what was my first card show in over a decade. I had a great time. It was excellent meeting up with Dom, being able to talk the hobby. We went out, had a nice lunch afterwards, had a couple beers, talked shop, and it's something that I hope to do again. So if I remember, I'll slide a couple photos in at the end, but that is the wrap on my card show experience. Thank you so much for sticking out for about 15 minutes with me here. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'll be back soon, as you know. And in the meantime, enjoy the hobby and enjoy your card shows. Take care.